Nick fucking Gage. I represent the Murder That Kill Gang. You're watching Shooting the Shit. And if you're not watching Shooting the Shit, I'm probably in your house robbing you. So watch that shit or I'll rob your motherfucking house. MDK all fucking day.
Hi, Shane.
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
I'm quite well. How are you?
We're living, we're learning, we're rocking, and we're rolling, and that's all I got to say about it.
Right. Oh, there you go. Got the beer going.
Hey, man, worked a long shift today. First beer, got to crack it open with the. I mean, I would say the boys here, but the boy.
That boy. Yeah, our other boy kind of called it a night pretty early, but I know he's had he had a long shift too, I think today or something like that, right?
He just wakes up early as shit every day and goes to bed at like 7:45 pretty much every day. I mean he's just got a crazy schedule. An old man's
Is he
tired.
like? Yeah, it sounds like an old man. That was like my, waking up early in the day and being in bed like 7:45. That's like my grandparents.
Oh, I talk to Isaac a lot more than you do, probably. We typically shoot messages back and forth, just
Mhm.
random bullshit all day, every day. Yeah, no, there are times where I'll message him at like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then he'll respond at like 2:30 in the morning, and he was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, man, I went to bed at 6:40, 6:45 because I had a 3:30 a.m. shift." Dude.
Oh, I would hate hours like that. Like I said, I sometimes struggle. I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and sometimes it's a struggle for me to get out of bed. I mean, and stuff some days, and I have a set schedule.
Yeah, what time do you normally get up, Dennis?
Well, I can afford to sleep in a little bit more now because my son's out of school, but most of the time I usually try to get up at least during the week between 6 and 6:30.
Okay.
So that way I can kind of get things going, like most of the time when like my son wakes up, for when he had school, I try to have his breakfast ready either right before he got up or just as he was getting up and stuff. But I mean, now that he's on summer break and he's probably going to be spending a lot of time at grandma's house and stuff, so kind of get to sleep in, or at least relax a little bit more and stuff, and on the weekends, I get to sleep in a little bit, but sometimes my body's so used to getting up early. I'm on a Saturday morning, I could be up at 6:30. The wife would still be sleeping.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I'd be like, you know what, screw this. I come downstairs, go sit in my dad's old recliner that I have down in my basement, pop on a movie, and I'm good.
Yeah. No, I was actually talking about that to some people at work today. I was like,
Mhm.
you never like when you're a kid, right? And I'm talking like through high school.
Right.
You never imagine that you're gonna be in a position where you're like, it is 10:30 at night. I am falling asleep
Yep.
and I need to go to bed. And then you wake up like on your days off at like 8 o'clock to no alarm, and you're like, what the hell just happened? Like,
Mhm.
why? I mean, again, I mean, obviously, vividly, I'm not like that old. But like
Right.
in high school, I would be up till 5, 6 in the morning playing games and sleep till 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Mhm.
And now I'm just like, man, it is 9:45 and I need to, I need to go to sleep right now.
Dude, and I've got like at least 15, almost 20 years on you, man. And I like, we were talking a little bit about this, yesterday when we were on with, Jovan and Sean, for a little bit for, shooting shit, which by the way, guys, if you haven't seen the latest episode, please go to, the show's YouTube page, check it out. If you're obviously, if you're watching this, you're part of the Facebook group. Click on the link to it'll take you right to the YouTube video. And
Yeah,
one of the
say
things,
it came out today, right?
yep,
Came out
okay,
this
just
morning.
dropped earlier as of when we're recording this, earlier this morning. I put it out myself. I made sure it was the last thing I did before I left for work. But going back to that, I told you it don't get any easier, and you bring that up about like 9:30, and you're just like you're ready to go to bed and all
Oh,
that stuff. I remember, and I have my family reunion coming up in a couple weeks, and we always used to have a group of cousins. It was like me, and just a bunch of different cousins, like some of my like my close cousins, like first cousins or whatever, and then extended family that come in from Indiana stuff. And we'd have this little core group that we do the reunion, and then like we would go over to somebody's house afterwards and just keep the party going and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like,
say I seem to remember you being a party animal at the family reunion. I'm excited for stories, buddy. Sorry to cut you off. I just had to get that out there.
No, you're good, dude. But man, and stuff, and like this time now, because it's almost about 10 p.m. where I'm at, and 11 where you're at. Like this would be just when we're getting started, and like I would talk with my cousin Jerry, who's like a brother to me, and he's a big supporter of the show and everything and stuff. And like this would be the time, like we would always reminisce about like how like this would be the time that we were just getting started. And now this time of day, we're like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, no, I mean, and just to segue this into a quick topic for the show tonight. You were talking about 10 p.m., 11 p.m. bedtime. Double or Nothing 2024. That shit went till fucking 12:30 at night. In it like 11:30 your time, and that is insane. That is, I mean, and granted, the next day was Memorial Day, so to be fair, they might have gone a little long, assuming a lot of people were off.
There was a report. There's a report out there that apparently Tony Khan purchased extra time well in advance. So,
yeah, I mean, again, so he probably understood it was Memorial Day and said, we can run a little long. But regardless, that is insane. Yeah. A 4.5 hour pay-per-view is a lot, like, to begin with. And this wasn't I don't know, for it being a 5-year anniversary show, it didn't really feel any more special than any other pay-per-view that they do. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it didn't have like any bells or whistles. So to me, it was just an almost 5-hour standard issue AEW show, and I'm like, oh my god.
And I agree with you there. Like, it didn't feel like a special 5-year anniversary show. But to me, it was still a really good show. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, and I mean, you know me, I'm always a glass half full. I go into a lot of these things just like without any expectation, because that way I don't set myself up for disappointment and all that stuff and all that. Like, yeah. I love, I just go in with an open mind. And I feel like that's why I always see it always come off as like enjoying more than most and stuff, and that's just how I am. But I mean, I thought I enjoyed it. I mean, and I mean, just from everything from the cage match with Adam Copeland and Malachi Black, that blew my expectations out of the water as to how good it was. I mean, we had some insane spots that the entrance that he basically redid his at WrestleMania entrance, what was it? That's South of Heaven, I believe was the name of the song.
Yeah, by Slayer. And that was the last one. That was his last WrestleMania, right? Against Finn in the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and he brought that back, and this, and then we got an appearance by Gangrel, and then when he did that I think it was tried to do the elbow drop off the top of the cage, which resulted in him snapping his tibia. And I remember watching that, and I cringed when he landed, and I just
I told DDJ this off camera. This was after me going to a GCW show, and after I had worked in the morning. It was pretty difficult shift. So needless to say, I was drunk and very sleepy. So my recollection of the entire show is definitely not what Dennis's is. But yeah, no, I mean, it was a good show, right? But isn't pretty much every AEW pay-per-view a good show? It is the antithesis of what that company does well, which is just letting people wrestle.
Yeah, it was a very good. Their pay-per-views are usually
I would watch,
really good. Like I
would watch all the AEW shows if they weren't on a Sunday late as hell and go for 4 hours.
And we talk about long pay-per-views, and every time I think long pay-per-view, I think of WrestleMania 35 and That was a struggle to get through, especially
That
towards
was
the
the
end.
one that started at like 3 p.m. my time, 2 p.m. your time, right?
Yeah, they had like a
It
2-hour
was like
kickoff
yeah, it was like
show.
8 hours long.
Yeah, and I was over at a friend's house watching, and I remember I
Yeah.
forgot what point it was. I remember just like okay, and then there was like again. I always remember because it was like midnight when Joan Jett and the Blackhearts sang Ronda Rousey out to the ring and stuff, and
Oh yeah.
it's
I was
just
probably drunk and falling asleep.
well, that seems to be a recurring theme with you, drunk and falling asleep.
Cheers, buddy.
Well, I mean, you see in the logo for your logo for the show. I mean, it is a can of beer, so I mean, you gotta live the gimmick.
Hey, listen, man. Wrestling and beer go hand in hand, and that's all I got to say about it. I mean,
That's just that Stone Cold Steve Austin. He made a fortune off of that.
yeah, but I mean, Double or Nothing again from my very sleepy state. Overall, it was a good show, right? But like I
Yeah.
just said, every AEW pay-per-view is varying stages of good to
Mhm.
great.
The
But
one oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your
oh
thought.
no, I was just gonna say, but when it comes to creative in the year 2024 for Tony Khan, even on the pay-per-view, he makes some just strange decisions,
Mhm.
such as the MJF return, with Adam Cole, right? Which if I'm
Thank you.
I'm gonna be Isaac for a second, and you're gonna poop your pants. That broke kayfabe so much. Like, why was Adam Cole there? Why was Adam Cole having mic time after not being seen for a long time? He said, I'm gonna explain what's gonna happen. Like, what he was saying didn't even make sense.
Mhm.
And then MJF comes out and then just buries the shit out of him.
Yeah, and that was my issue because I know Adam Cole. He's been he hasn't wrestled in quite a while because of the serious ankle injury he suffered, and I think that along with MJF's injuries really just killed that whole
Yeah.
story thing. And then just when he came back, recently, he started walking like he's not getting the crutches and using the crutches anymore. And I mean, it sounds like he's still some time away from being cleared, but it's just
Yeah.
you mentioned them burying. That's exactly what I just felt like Adam Cole got buried like the hell because he come out, MJF comes out. If to me, I didn't like the fact that they, acted like they were going to be buddies again because of what happened. Like you would have thought MJF would have come out and just like, would have played his music. He would have come out and he would have like been after Cole, but instead they did it, did the embrace or whatever. Like they were going to rekindle their friendship. And then, MJF kicks him in the nuts and does that. And I just was thinking to myself, like, damn, they just buried Adam Cole. Like they buried that whole group. Like the Undisputed Kingdom is done in my opinion.
They have botched that whole storyline so bad. And again, do I blame Tony for kind of, I mean, again, kind of losing the plot as far as the main event scene and all of that, given how much time was invested into this storyline and then it just got blown up with injury? No, I mean you can't. That's not his fault. I'm very critical of Tony Khan a lot of the time, but again, it has to be tough. They allotted so much television to MJF Adam Cole that just to have everything taken away immediately, I mean, not immediately, but like when they're about to get the big blow off is tough. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, and then MJF just cut a forever promo. That guy talked for like 10 minutes. Just straight. And then he showed off what might be the second most questionable tattoo in AEW history.
Wait. Can I take a guess at what the most questionable tattoo in AEW history is?
I mean, you're gonna be correct.
It's got to be the Cody Rhodes' neck
tattoo. Yeah. I mean, that might be the most questionable tattoo in pro wrestling history. I mean, really, like, I mean, I'm sure that people have gotten more questionable tattoos. But to be what it is, who it is on, and where it is located,
Mhm.
it's got to be up there. Yeah, MJF shows off the fucking AEW chip tattoo on
Bet on
somebody.
yourself.
Yeah, on somebody that doesn't have any tattoos really, and I don't know, man. Like it made me cringe. Honestly, I was like, oh,
I get what they were trying to do with it. Like I really do, but yeah, I just felt like it's just I
well,
it just
he
doesn't
kind of
click with me.
well, and I'll tell you what I think didn't click is the fact that MJF never has liked Tony Khan or liked AEW on screen. MJF has always been about MJF, and MJF has always on screen, again, been very anti-establishment and, like, fuck this place, I'm going to go to WWE and,
Right.
Hinting all of that, or fuck this, I'm going to go wherever. And then he comes back and has a fucking AEW tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's just like and I think this is kind of why like, to me it's just MJF just doesn't seem like I don't look at him the same way I did 5 years ago, because it's just not him. Like like, I understand, like, they want to try something different with him, like really with this trying to be this this baby face while trying to kind of maintain that it doesn't work for me. Like I feel like MJF was at his best when he was the heel that gave zero shits or zero fucks about anything.
yeah, I mean, and he definitely has that kind of Miz, give me another just chronically heel guy that every time they try to turn him face, it doesn't really work.
Trying to think, Miz is a really good. Although, right, I will say this: I am enjoying the hell out of Miz and R-Truth. I am enjoying the hell out of Awesome Truth right now.
I mean, I don't want to take away from the Miz, because the Miz has had genuinely some funny moments. But he's hanging out with R-Truth, man. It's hard not to enjoy whatever R-Truth is doing.
Eggman is a national treasure.
Yeah. But again, we'll just use the Miz, right? Is he's chronically heel, but I think that, honestly, I think that he's a good baby face. I think that he's not in the traditional sense, obviously, but again, he can just be the same guy that he was and just not insult the crowd, right? And do more things to, like, get the crowd to cheer or whatever. So I think it works. I just don't think that the tattoo makes any sense at all. For him, maybe it probably makes plenty of sense for him as a human. But him as a character,
right?
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. It's just, again, just strange things happening in a strange company.
Speaking of strange things, we're 18 minutes in, and I just realized something.
We never ran the intro.
Yeah, so and on that note, that's better.
Yeah, okay. Now the podcast starts. What's up, everybody? It's me, Shane, and he's DD. No, I'm just kidding.
We got that out of the way. They don't know who we are by now. Then you know what? Well, he's Shane and I'm DDJ.
I'm DDJ and he's Shane. Ooh, which one is it?
Ooh, or maybe I'm Isaac.
You don't want to. I mean, who knows what kind of stuff he gets into, DDJ? You're too nice of a human, and
Well, I appreciate that. It's like I used to say. I'm the proverbial white meat baby face of Not only was I the proverbial white meat baby face of shooting shit when I was on there, which again, by the way, please check out their latest episode that dropped earlier today, as of when we're recording this. You can find the link on the Facebook page after you're done watching this, or like I say, go to the YouTube page and look up all the past shows. And that, but
check them out.
Check them out and stuff. And I guess I'm the official white meat baby face of this show too. And speaking of shooting shit, you and I were on there for a brief bit last night when we recorded with them.
Yep, a brief bit right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And just to give you guys a little bit of a taste to see what's to come with this show, we're going to be debuting a new look to 5-Star Takes as we really started to find our own identity, and we want to kind of give it our own look, to separate it. While we're part of the Shooting Shit family, we're kind of doing our own thing, and we want to look like our own thing and stuff, So if you want to kind of get a peek of what the new look is going to look like, check out the latest episode, because that was part of the reason why we were on there.
Yeah, definitely give it a look, and big thanks to the Shooting Shit boys and Jovan for whipping that up for us. It was a very nice gift.
It was a very nice surprise and stuff. And yay, the Milwaukee Brewers just won 12-5, so I am happy.
Woo!
Yay! But going back and stuff, the one thing I will say about this week's episode of Shooting Shit is just prepare yourself for some really bad impressions by the Silver Wolf. He did a not so good Jake the Snake Roberts impression.
Oh no.
And stuff. So, but if you really want to see how bad it was, go watch the show. But I'm warning you, it's not pretty.
All right, DDJ, show them how it's done. Give me a little Jake the Snake Roberts.
Oh, I can't. I'm not going to even try, because my Jake the Snake would be worse than Silver Wolf's. And Silver Wolf's was bad enough as it is.
But yeah, just to kind of touch on MJF being back, and then we'll move on. Mm-hmm. Where does MJF end up in the grand scheme of things? Because AEW moves so quickly,
mm-hmm.
That it's there's very few guys that remain in one position, unless you're the Young Bucks and Okada.
Mm-hmm.
The levels fluctuate a lot. I mean, does MJF take a break from the main event scene for a minute just to give Swerve his title reign, and does he do some mid card stuff? Because I
was gonna. Oh no, finish your thought. You were.
Yeah, no. I was just going to agree with what you said. I just. Is anything that MJF does at this point going to be truly mid-card in the scheme of AEW? Absolutely not. Any match that he is in is going to feel a little bit bigger because of him. But I just where does he fit?
I think right now it's just he's gonna and this was kind of where the injuries that happened to both he and Adam Cole really couldn't have come at a worse time, because that would have been your program there. But like we discussed earlier, they pretty much killed that, or any, at least in my opinion, any hope of that with just the way that MJF buried Adam Cole at at Double or Nothing. And I mean, I think right now, yes, I think he's not gonna be, at least yet, be near the title scene, because Swerve's getting his run in, and really right now MJF versus Swerve doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes no sense in the grand scheme of things. Again, it's just like I said earlier, AEW at any point in time is such just a revolving door for people and stories and anything else, that I think it's tough to get a foothold in if you've not, kind of been involved for a minute. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
bouncing off feuds and everything else. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure whatever he does will probably be well received by the crowd, and I'm sure if there is no place for him right now, they'll make a place. So
Right, right. And I mean, and it's the thing. It looks like his first story or match or whatever is going to be against Roosh because Roosh cut a promo on Dynamite, and that'd be a good way to kind of get his feet wet back in the mix and stuff. But I mean, he's gonna eventually find his way back. That's just when the moment's right. I mean, it's just right now it doesn't make sense. Um, if it comes down to say if Joe gets the title back, MJF could go back after Joe to get the title from the man who took it from him. I mean, they're really just in terms of like world championship opponents for MJF, there really aren't that many out there right now.
yeah, no, I mean it's like I said, it's just again, it's just tough. I mean, one guy that I'm kind of thinking of right now off the top of my head that would, just kind of got off of a feud and,
Mm-hmm.
would kind of be something for him to do would be Christian if they wanted to,
Wouldn't mind
pursue that. I mean, again, they could pursue it for one pay-per-view cycle.
I think Christian could hold more than more. He could hold his more than hold his own against MJF, especially in a battle on the mic.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and again, do it for one pay-per-view cycle. MJF gets a big win in a pay-per-view, and then you can kind of, send them wherever you want from there. But
Right.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see and see which end of Tony Khan that we get.
Yeah. I mean, just the only thing is with this whole Tony Khan, Young Bucks power struggle. It's been done. I mean, the Bucks are doing something different than their usual antics and stuff, and it is what it is and stuff. I just, like I said, just keep everybody away from Darby Allin when he's rocking a flamethrower. Just ask Jack Perry.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, the flamethrower spot was, honestly done pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
He was clearly on fire. Seemed relatively safe in the grand scheme of things, though. They had a plan and executed it. Nobody died. So yeah, I mean, nobody died, and it looked pretty good.
The one thing that, and we'll after we'll kind of move on here. The one thing that I kind of thought about, like another thing that I didn't really like about Double or Nothing was the spot where they basically hung Darby Allin from his ankles, from the cable, and they kind of had it suspended from the top or anything. And I just thought to myself, I was like, I don't know if I felt like, considering the fact that it was like, I think 2 days or a couple of days after the 25th anniversary of Owen's passing, and Martha Hart being in attendance and stuff to to promote the Owen Hart tournament that's going to be starting real soon. I just felt like I don't think that I felt like that was done in poor taste, or like maybe they should have done something else.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of that match really as a whole. Like to begin with, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to comment on what's in poor taste and what's
That's
not.
fair.
Yeah, I mean, in relation to it, I mean, I would hope that since she is so prominently featured on the show that they, respect her opinions on things, because she clearly, doesn't want anything to do with, WWE at any point in time.
Right.
Not blaming her. But I mean, she's like being featured publicly by them, so I would hope that she wouldn't go against her morals in relation to her, husband's death, just to appear on television. So I would imagine that they run things by her first.
And I'm sure they did, but even then, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me and stuff, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I didn't think about it that way, but I was drunk and falling asleep. So,
well, speaking of another event that you probably were drunk and fell asleep through was King and Queen of the Ring also happened that weekend. It happened the day before Double or Nothing, and another really good show. It was a great weekend for wrestling. I mean, I know you were at a GCW show and you were telling me a pretty funny story about an interaction you had with a certain GCW talent and stuff. But I mean, it was a really good weekend for wrestling. I thought that King and Queen of the Ring was a really good show as well too. I mean, I have no issues with who won the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring. And yeah, I mean, it was a good show. I mean, you said you haven't watched it, go watch it. Go watch it on Peacock. It's definitely worth it. I thought both of those tournament final matches were good. I thought Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul had a really great match, and there was a really cool spot during that match when Logan jumped from the turnbuckle with a down to then put Cody through a table, and they had a really cool drone shot like that was circling around. It was a really neat shot that I really, really liked.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the show. Unfortunately, I was working at the time and not drunk and asleep.
Oh, I would hope you wouldn't be drunk and asleep while you're working.
Yeah, I believe it was at 1:00 in the afternoon on Saturday. But no, I didn't get to see that shot. I definitely am interested in seeing that. So if you ever see it on Twitter or anything, DDJ, try to remember to send it because I definitely want to see that.
I will definitely do that and stuff. But yeah, I like I said, I like the show, and that. But so we talked about MJF, we talked about Double or Nothing, we talked about King and Queen of the Ring. Let's talk about some possible departing talents from the world of the WWE, and then we can also throw in some of the talents that have recently departed AEW. Big news is coming up was that Becky Lynch just had 2 matches in 3 days against Liv Morgan, where on Saturday at King and Queen of the Ring, she dropped the women's title to Liv, and then they had a rematch on Raw a couple days later in a cage that Liv won again. Both matches were won due to the, I don't know if I want to say unintended assistance or unexpected assistance or whatever from Dominic Mysterio, who was out there, basically said he came out there to make sure that Liv did not take his mommy's title, and that's unfortunately exactly what did happen. And I don't know, did you watch Raw on Monday?
I watched the first hour, but I was so wrestlinged out after literally spending 9 hours of my day on Sunday watching wrestling.
I understand that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that by the time 9:00 rolled around, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna go just do anything else.
Well,
but I did see what happened. They were smooching.
They were smooching, and I don't think mommy's gonna be too happy about that. And the thing is with the smooch is that a lot of people are saying they didn't see it. A lot of people are saying they did not see it. So I guess it depends on however you watch Raw is whether or not you got to see it or not. But it was definitely all over social media.
Yeah, no, I mean it was a big moment. Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool that Rhea has become a big enough star that her mere the thought of her presence is enough to kind of carry this storyline. You know what I mean? Because if this would have been somebody else, let's just choose another woman on the roster. If this would have been Indy Hartwell, you know what I mean? It wouldn't, nearly have the same impact.
No,
but because mommy's such a force, and you're like, oh shit, she's gonna come back and beat up Dom, and that's gonna be believable. You know what I mean? That like, you know, it's cool, but yeah, they're doing a pretty good job of somehow keeping this Judgment Day storyline chugging along.
Right. Yeah. And that seems to be possibly, some cracks in the wall there because Davian's trying to take charge and he's trying to do things on his own and clean up the messes of Finn and JD and anybody else. And I don't know. I mean, I think Damian Priest is probably set to kind of break off onto his own as well, too.
I think that Damian Priest is set to lose his title.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we got another PLE coming up in a couple weeks, and from Scotland.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's absolutely, you know, what I think is going to happen. I mean, I think that there's so much money to be made in Drew McIntyre being champion and doing the CM Punk feud, right? I think that you make him champion to do that, to get that payoff. And I think that Damian Priest is losing, you know, the belt as a catalyst to further the Judgment Day storyline.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is unfair to Damian because I genuinely like him.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's going to make the company more money doing anything than CM Punk versus Drew.
Well, see, and
I mean,
the one thing that's interesting about all of this, though, with this World Heavyweight title situation is by virtue of his win at King and Queen of the Ring, Gunther has secured himself a world title match at SummerSlam. And it was, the winner of each tournament was supposed to get a shot at his or her respective brand's champion. And Gunther being on Raw means he's going to challenge for the World Heavyweight title. So we're either going to get Gunther versus Damian Priest or Gunther versus Drew at SummerSlam. And I mean, I feel like you almost have to put the title on Gunther if you really want to keep the momentum going. But like you mentioned, there's that cloud of Drew versus Punk.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my 5-star take for the night. You ready?
Ooh, I'm ready.
Drew wins the title from Damian at Clash at the Castle.
Okay.
Drew then drops the title to Punk, who I can only assume is getting very close to coming back. Very shortly after getting it. And that's just they keep doing it to Drew, right? You know, right. As soon as he gets the title, he loses it, or his title reign was not in front of any fans.
It's like that Geico commercial with the fishing rod with the dollars. Like, oh, he almost had it.
Yep. And then Gunther takes the belt off of Punk at SummerSlam. I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, I think Gunther is.
He could chop the piss out of that big fucking. I hate CM Punk, man. He just.
All right, well, let's get back on track here. We're talking about expiring contracts. Becky Lynch is rumored to be expiring soon. Also, Chad Gables, I believe, is rumored to expire next week. And I mean, he's been featured pretty prominently in the last few months as he's trying to finally win the Intercontinental Championship. And I mean, do you think there's a chance that either one of these talents maybe show up and I don't know on a show called Collision or Dynamite?
I think that there's a 0% chance you see Becky Lynch in AEW at any point in time. I believe
throw her a shit ton of money.
I believe, yeah, but so's WWE, man, and Seth is so ingrained in WWE. They're like they are WWE fixtures, both of them. I have a really hard time seeing it. I think that she will go home for a while. She will go home for a year, just to be with her daughter and be able to be a mom and relax and heal up all those injuries from all of that time on the road and, let Seth bring in the Bucks you know, and then in a year or so, come back. I mean, I genuinely believe, and who knows, you know, maybe she uses that time to, you know, take some, you know, weird booking dates. I'm not saying wrestling wise, but, you know, autograph signings, and maybe she does that circuit and, you know, does a little bit more than, you know, what she could before as far as that stuff goes. And Chad Gable, I guess it's a possibility, but I have a hard time believing that WWE's not going to do what they can to get him back, because this storyline has been such a, again, a prominent feature on Raw, that I think it would be silly to not do everything that you can to re-sign this guy, because at that point you've just wasted yourself and everybody's time.
Right. I also I agree with you on both counts. I think that, like I said, I think Becky takes some time off to heal up, go, you know, spend time with, you know, her little girl, and, you know, Seth, I think, is still recovering from, you know, just, I know he was cleared to wrestle, and he, you know, did what he did at WrestleMania, but that man needed some time off, and he's getting some time to heal up and get himself right, you know, and they can go be a family. I also feel like Chad Gable also will stay as well too, because of what you said. He's featured so prominently in the storyline. Not only this thing with Sammy, but just the, you know, they're building to something with Otis, because, you know, the crowd's really getting behind Otis again, and just they're waiting for that moment where he just is like, finally has enough is enough, and he just goes off on Gable. And I mean, you got to have a payoff for that. If Chad were to leave,
probably SummerSlam, right? I mean, that's probably,
well, no, I feel like that's going to be maybe even sooner. I mean, with the way these international crowds have been lately, I almost feel like you're going to see something at Clash at the Castle, like where Otis is going to be like, I've had it, you know, enough. And like I said, just imagine the roar of that international crowd if Otis does, you know, does what the fans want him to do. And that, but yeah, I would say though, if I had to say one of those two, like if you held a gun to my head and said, okay, which one of these two is most likely to go to a different promotion, and where would that be? I would definitely say Chad Gable, and I could easily see him finding his way to New Japan, because I think he could make a killing over in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that Chad Gable could make a killing wherever he went, because he's so goddamn good. But I mean, I have a 3-word statement that I think kind of nullifies that. I just don't believe he's going to go anywhere. And that 3-word statement is Triple H guy.
Yeah.
I believe 100% that he is a Trips. You know, he was a big star in NXT with Alpha Academy. You know, they
American Alpha, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, American Alpha. And you know, again, think about his booking when Vince was there comparative to Trips. Man, he was motherfucking Shorty G.
Yeah, why'd you have to bring that up?
I mean, again, because you know, I just have a hard time believing that he wouldn't be loyal to Triple H at this point. You know what I mean?
I agree, and I eventually think both of them they're not going anywhere. But I mean, you talk about those contracts expiring. You know, there's a lot of reports out there about AEW contracts expiring. I mean, Mark Henry was on Busted Open, basically said his contract was coming up and he wasn't going to renew. I know Arn Anderson, I believe, if his contract isn't expired, it's close, and he said he was leaving. Jake Hager, I believe, recently announced his contract was up and he's left. I mean, Matt Hardy is back in TNA. Jeff's supposedly contract is expiring within the next month or so, and it's crazy. It's, you know, it's like the Monday Night Wars all over again.
Yeah, no, I mean for certain. Again, it's you know, it's exciting right now. Especially with these companies just allowing contracts to run out a little bit more, you know, and rather than cutting people. But yeah, I mean, NXT is kind of going crazy right now,
and that's a really good segue. What you did there, because you talk about contracts that expire in NXT. We saw the appearance of someone who I thought was actually still under contract to AEW, and that was one All Ego Ethan Page. And I really liked how when he showed up, you know, Vic Joseph was like, wasn't he an A? And then Booker stopped and was like, like you can't say that on TV. And I just thought that was really good, and it was really nice surprise because Ethan Page is super talented, and it's just everybody thought when he and Josh Alexander split that he was gonna go be the big star, and Josh Alexander was going to be the Marty Jannetty to Ethan Page's Shawn Michaels, and the exact opposite is what ended up happening. And it's a shame because Ethan Page is really talented, and AEW never gave him a fair shot. I really hope he, finds some success in NXT.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that NXT is doing really well right now. Is they're finding a home for goodbye for some of these older guys that kind of never made it huge but are like really good talents, right? Like
Shawn Spears.
Shawn Spears, Dominic Dijakovic had the run of his whole life as Dijak for like 2 years in NXT. Now you got All Ego Ethan Page, and I get the feeling that with Shawn Michaels at the helm of NXT, taking over for what Triple H did, but they did the whole black and gold thing and became the best wrestling promotion on the planet for a couple years. And then COVID happened and Triple H had a heart attack and they got all sugary and really gross for like 2 years. I've said it on the show before, they found a really good middle point between the two. And it genuinely seems like they've cultivated such a crazy, intensive but nurturing learning environment for these young kids. I mean, you've got the Good Brothers hanging out down there. You've got now, All Ego Ethan Page, who's wrestled a lot of places for a lot of time.
Spears.
Yeah, you got Shawn Spears hanging out. You've got Natalya hanging out on the show. Shayna Baszler. I mean, who else? Ivar, right? Like, everybody likes to laugh at Ivar, but Ivar's been around the block 100 million times.
He's out with a very serious injury, unfortunately, and stuff. But I mean, yeah, he was down there. You look at the people that were down there. Becky Lynch was down there. It's just, there were like a lot of guys went down there to do stuff. I mean, Punk's made appearances at the Performance Center and spent time with a lot of, the talents down there and giving some advice. And it's a great place. And before we get into the other surprise from NXT, do you feel like, because you mentioned the black and gold era when NXT was really must watch, do you feel like this NXT is either at that point or getting to the point where it's becoming must watch TV?
Okay, here's my second 5-star take of the night. The old NXT black and gold was amazing, right? But it was a lot closer to AEW than a lot of people would like to admit.
Looking back, I see where you're coming from.
I mean, again, were there good storylines in NXT? Yes, 100%, right? But who remembers anything about the NXT weekly shows? Nobody. I don't remember a fucking thing, and I watched 2 years of it. I'll tell you what I remember is Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano going 35 minutes. I remember the same things that I do about AEW. I remember the matches. I remember the wrestling. This current NXT, is it that crisp in the ring? Absolutely not. Not even close.
Because it's more of a developmental, which is what NXT was always intended to be.
It's more of a developmental, absolutely. But this current version of NXT is so insanely entertaining and just so is it on the same level as NXT Black and Gold? No, not really. But does it need to be? No, it's its own thing. It's its own I mean,
it has its own identity.
yeah, no, I mean, and I can't remember if I said it on the show, but my favorite match of WrestleMania weekend was Josh Briggs versus Obafemi versus Dijak on NXT Stand and Deliver
Mhm.
Saturday of WrestleMania, the triple threat for the North American Championship. That was legitimately my favorite match of WrestleMania weekend.
That's
It
a really
was
good one.
phenomenal, just the way it was booked, just the way they called it in the ring, the story they told, the way they hid Obafemi's weaknesses. It was it, it was legitimately one of my favorite triple threat matches probably of all time. I mean, it's near
Wow.
perfect. Honestly, I think that match, for what it is in the promotion that it's in, right, a developmental brand,
Mm-hmm.
is about as perfect as you can get.
There you go. So there was one other surprise here, and there's all this talk about the Forbidden Door. You know, AEW's got their Forbidden Door show coming up pretty soon, and the main event was announced as Swerve Strickland defending the AEW title against Will Ospreay. But that wasn't the only Forbidden Door that was open. What did you think when you saw TNA Knockout Champion Jordan Grace show up and be announced as Roxanne Perez's opponent for Battleground next weekend?
I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was incredible enough that she showed up at the Rumble, but
It had a great performance. Let's not forget.
yeah. I mean, but then to not be featured in to show up randomly, right? There's no story. To
Mhm.
randomly be featured in a singles match for a championship is legitimately insane for
Mhm.
a company that's owned by the WWE. It is so beyond the realm of possibility that it's hard to believe. And now I don't want to say that I love it, because I don't, because that kind of sucks for the NXT women that have been working very, very hard.
Right.
Um, but as far as just being a wrestling fan and being excited about things, it's legitimately one of the most exciting things that's happened in a while, because now there's a TNA NXT possibility that we could see more. And you could see Moose show up and want to fight Obafemi,
Yeah.
right? You could see Charlie Dempsey go over to TNA and wanna duke it out with Josh Alexander or Steve Macklin or whoever else. The D'Angelo family could go fucking abscond with somebody
You
from
know,
NXT. I mean, from TNA, and then bring them to NXT. That's
yeah.
a great idea.
You know who I would love to see cross the Forbidden Door to come from TNA to WWE?
Who?
I would love to see Nick Nemeth show up, because he reminds me a lot of that Dolph Ziggler guy that used to be part of WWE.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. Like, can you imagine if AJ Styles crossed the Forbidden Door and just was still AJ Styles?
You know what? That would be the one, and that was when the guys were Javon and Sean were talking about that on the show. That was one guy that got mentioned that it could make all the sense in the world to just he could finally get that, because obviously we all know AJ doesn't really have that much time left. I mean, anybody that watched SmackDown saw what happened, and thought that we were maybe going to be saying goodbye to AJ, and he basically pulled a Mark Henry and got to Cody Rhodes and stuff. But I would love to see AJ cross that Forbidden Door, just give him one last little mini run in the company that he helped build, and basically the company that helped build him and help put his name out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that was something that when I was thinking about this possibility of a crossover, definitely crossed my mind. That would be awesome if they could figure out a way to make that happen. And if this works, I'm sure it will. Again, but I think the most exciting thing is thinking about the NXT TNA crossover, because some of these young NXT guys could benefit a lot from just going somewhere else for 6 months and, you know, wrestling a little bit of a different style in front of a different crowd. Because let's be honest here, NXT has a very, very samey crowd. They you know, are very predictable. They don't fly off the hinges very often. They are, you know, kind of paint by the numbers, babyface likers, unless it's Oba Femi. But yeah, I mean, it's just super exciting, and it really interests me to see what other organizations, you know, Triple H could start working with.
It's really, we're seeing things that we thought we'd never see. I mean, I never thought we'd see AEW, New Japan, you know, put together a show. I never thought I'd see WWE work with, you know, another company. And
it's just another company time. Period.
Just anybody. And I mean, and under the old regime, that would have been the case. But again, this just I think shows that Triple H is exactly what this company needed, because he goes off basically what the fans want. He books these shows and put these shows together for the fans, unlike Vince, who used to put the show together for his enjoyment. He booked for an audience of one.
Yeah, no, and you know, to kind of put a cap on it, the one word I think that you can use to describe WWE for their entire, not really entire existence, but during times of strife, right? We'll consider obviously WCW, but also, you know, AEW, a time of strife, right? They're resilient, man, and somehow, some way, they figure out a way to come out kind of on top, and in a incredible movie-like turn of events. Vince getting outed for what he did, and I'm not making light of that at all, but what happened to Vince really kind of, I mean, I don't want to say save the WWE, because AEW was never going to put the WWE out of business. Right. That was never a possibility, but you know, they kicked out at 1 rather than 2.5. And you know, right now they're kicking ass. I mean, everything's kicking ass. I would rather watch NXT than Dynamite.
You know, I'm with you that too, and it's a shame because
the wrestling is so much better on AEW. It should be so much better. It has no right to be worse than NXT.
It's a shame because and I said this for a while, like AEW is basically what they're at that point where they're what WWE was like when AEW first debuted. It's like, I always like to call, you know, like say it's like a Freaky Friday body switch. It's like they, you know, AEW inhabited the WWE's body, and you know, everything WWE touches turns to gold, and you know, everything AEW touches turns to shit.
Yeah, I mean, they're at a really interesting position. And I am not in any way a financial guy. So I could just be pulling huge turds out of my ass here. But they're at a position where
over the next huge turds out of your ass, just go sit on the toilet for a little bit. Don't use your hands.
Oh, bro, I will bring you to the toilet just Incredible style. Do not think I won't.
That is a legendary story from the days of such good shoot.
Yeah. But they're at a point, I think, if you're Tony Khan, where they just have to start making money.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to just figure out a way to turn it around. I just do not. I mean, I understand how Tony Khan can continue to do it, because that man is richer than anybody I've ever met in my life combined. But the company is 5 years old, and I'm not certain they've made money ever, other than maybe in the early days before, you know, when they were just doing one show every 3 months before there was TV, and, you know, they became a normality. But, I mean, somebody has to pull up their britches and figure out a way to make money. whether it's Tony, whether it's the producers, and maybe they just kick Tony's ass and, tell him, hey, you need to lay off a little bit, buddy, or what.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I just struggle to find a way that this company, as it is right now, lasts 5 more years.
Well, that's kind of, you must have been reading my mind, because I was going to ask you as we start to wrap this up, do you see if AEW continues the way, if it keeps trending the way it does it last 5 years? I don't think it does.
No, I think that if it keeps going this direction, they last a solid 2 more years. And then I do think that if that happens, you start seeing little splinter groups, and you start seeing more GCW level indie organizations start popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might start seeing a little bit of competition there, which is not what I want, because I love GCW, and
Right.
GCW needs to be untouched, because that shit is the land of opportunity at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Might not be good. Might not be very good. It could be very good, but something's happening.
Yeah. So, and on that note, we talked a little bit earlier about how we can't go like we used to, and I'm starting to hit that point. So it's almost midnight where you're at. It's almost 11 o'clock where I'm at, Shane. I think we got a good solid hour into some quality information.
Sure.
Hope everybody enjoyed the show, and like I mentioned before, don't forget to check out the boys of Shooting Shit on their show, which you can find the links again on the Facebook page where you watch this show, or go on YouTube and give them a watch. They'll give you guys a sneak peek at a new look that's coming for this show that we're hoping to debut possibly next week, if not 2 weeks from now. But yeah, I don't really think I have anything else to say, Shane. So why don't we just say this? Everybody, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Legends of the Ring Sting, man. This is a great figure, old school figure. Looks great. It's Sting! Old school Sting from WCW. Guys, you know us, 3/4 of the Shooting Shit team, and we're here with a listener just like you guys. This is Jimmy from Super Powers Comics.
My friend of almost 20 years. He's known him since you were 12.
If you know people in Chicago, you probably know Dennis because he knows half the town, of course. But shooters, if you need action figures, comics, wrestling memorabilia, we just showed you Sting. Superpowers Comics will put up their QR code so you can get a good look at everything they have coming. Give it a shot, shooters. Get your superpowers on and get your comics from our friend Jimmy, who listens just like you.
Attention wrestling fans and fans of Shootin' Shit podcasts. You can now be one of the cool kids by going to ProWrestlingTees.com and buy the official Shootin' Shit t-shirt. Buy it now and be there at ringside.
Be sure to check us out on YouTube at www.youtube.com/@SHOOTINGSHT. Find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/SHOOTINSHT. Check us out on TikTok at SHOOTINSHIT. And you can buy your official Shootin' Shit shirt at www.ProWrestlingTees.com/SHOOTINSHT. And thanks for watching.